I'm in Seattle. I've been here a lot of times. My lovely wife is right here. I've been here a lot of times. And I've been here when the Niners have been expected to win, when they've been expected to lose. One way or another, the Niners lose. Since Russell Wilson has been the quarterback of the Seahawks, he's 10-1 against the Niners in Seattle. And I just kind of expect, it's the only really experience I've ever had covering this team is watching the Niners lose up here. But the Niners have won 3 of their last games. They've won 3 in a row. The Seahawks have lost 3 in a row, and pretty much everyone in the country is predicting the Niners to win this game. Everyone in the country. I mean, I am. No one in their right mind would predict the Seahawks to win this game. But let's step back a little bit. This is a place the Niners haven't had success in a decade, and these teams played each other already. Week 4 in Santa Clara, and the Seahawks won by 6. This is a game in which Deebo Samuel played. Deebo Samuel played in that game, went for like 156 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, Niners lost. Fred Warner played, Niners lost. They outgained the Seahawks by about 220 yards, still lost. Kind of interesting. Now they're playing up here where it's a tougher matchup without Deebo Samuel and Fred Warner. Everyone's picking the Niners to win. Well, let's do the math real quick. Kyle Shanahan goes on the radio yesterday and says, look, don't get ahead of ourselves here. The Seahawks are actually way better than their record. I bet you this game is going to come down to the final possession. That's what he said. I bet you. I've never heard a coach predict how a game's going to unfold. It seemed highly irregular, but when I thought about it, I was thinking, well, he's right. This is going to be a very close game. And here's the math Kyle Shanahan's doing. Here's why he says it's going to be so close. The Niners are on a 3-game winning streak because they run the ball 40 times a game. The last 3 games against the Rams, they ran it 44 times, against the Jaguars 42 times, and against the Vikings 39 times. That's their formula. Run it 40 times, have the ball for essentially like 2/3 of the game, run the ball two times for every 1 pass. That's their formula. And why have they been able to do it? A lot of people giving Kyle Shanahan the credit, got back to his identity. A lot of people giving Jimmy Garoppolo the credit. Can't sustain those drives without those big 3rd down conversions. Yeah, But let's be real. What's the real reason why the Niners have run the ball so well? What's the real reason the Niners have controlled the time of possession the last 3 games? Deebo freaking Samuel and turnovers. The Niners weren't getting a lot of turnovers at the beginning of the season, and they weren't forcing them either. The last couple of games, they've been +2 each game, really, on average, in the turnover margin, in the turnover column. That helps. Also, Deebo freaking Samuel. This is a team that wants to run a lot, and everyone knows they want to run a lot. And over the last 3 games, Deebo is averaging 9.5 yards a carry. That's essentially a first down every time he gets a handoff. It's outrageous. If you were averaging 5 yards a carry, you'd say, wow, this guy's elite. 9.5 yards a carry. He is the run game. He's basically half of the run production right there. The rest of the team in this dominant 3-game stretch where no one can stop the Niners run game, the rest of the team, 3.5 yards a carry. 3.3 yards per carry. Less than 3.5. And that's with Elijah Mitchell, who's at a respectable 4.2 yards per carry in this stretch, but he can't run the ball 40 times on his own. Other people have to come in. Jeff Wilson Jr. not really doing very well. So why are the Niners running the ball so well? Deebo. And these turnovers. So Deebo's not in the game. Now you're coming into a game with a rushing attack that's been averaging 3.3 yards per carry without Deebo the last 3 games. And you're facing a team that doesn't turn the ball over. Seahawks, I think, have the fewest giveaways in the league. They're a terrible offense, but they don't beat themselves. That's what they didn't have any turnovers when they beat the Niners earlier this year. Also, their defense last 3 games, giving up 3.3 yards per carry, good against the run. Do you see what Kyle Shanahan, the math he's doing here? He's looking and he's thinking, I don't know if we're going to run the ball that well this week. No Deebo. Our run game actually hasn't been as good as people think. We're going up against a good run defense. This could be rough. And it seems to me that I don't see how they're going to get to 40 carries here. With Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty, who hasn't played in a month, and Jeff Wilson Jr., I don't see how they get to 40 carries. I don't see how they get to 30. So this is going to be tough. And so why is the run game not more productive right now? Why are the numbers so down? Well, if the defense knows you want to run primarily, every time Jimmy Garoppolo hands off, he's out of the play. It's now 10 on 11. The running back and his 9 blockers against 11 defenders, they're outmanned. There's only so much you can get. And Elijah Mitchell, who's a hell of a running back, he's getting a lot of yards after contact. If he's averaging 4.2 yards per carry, he's probably averaging 3 yards after contact per carry. He's good. But it's a very compressed field right now because the quarterback is not a factor in the run game. Deebo Samuel doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who's the quarterback. He's going to average 10 yards a carry. He's that great. He can transcend the limitations of this offense, but Elijah Mitchell can't. So here's what has to happen in this game. If the run game doesn't work, can the Niners win? So far, their formula this year is if they can run, they can win. If they can't, they usually lose. So are they going to give up on the run game and say, Jimmy, win it through the air? Maybe he'll do that. But when they've asked him to do that this year, whether he's played well or not, they've usually lost. All of a sudden, they don't execute well. If they're passing a lot, Tom Compton's going to give up a few sacks. He gave up 2 last week. If they're passing a lot, they could have interceptions, fumbles. It seems like those mistakes happen more when they pass. So you could say, well, you know what? This is a game where Jimmy's going to have to win it for the 49ers. Or you could say this is going to be a game where Jimmy's going to lose this. They're not going to have the run game. It's going to be on Jimmy, and he's going to struggle like he has every time against the Seahawks. He's 1-4 against them in his career with a quarterback rating in the 60s. The last 2 times he's faced him, he hasn't made it through the game. He's gotten injured and played poorly, and the Niners have lost. So if history repeats itself, if the Niners run game continues to be what it is without Deebo, if the Seahawks run defense continues to be what it is, and Jimmy has another typical performance against the Seahawks, the Niners are in a lot of trouble, guys. This is a trap game. They're in a lot of trouble if it goes like this, and that's why Kyle said what he said. Now I'm picking the Niners to win because I think they have a way to beat them. I think they have an answer here. It's Trey Lance. It seems to me, if you get Trey Lance in the field, I think he gives the Niners the best chance to win this game. I would start him. I know they won't, but the sooner they get him in, the better. Because if you want to run the ball, when he's on the field, it's 11 on 11 football, not 10 on 11. And so just the threat of him keeping it and running should increase yards per carry across the board. It should. So instead of averaging 4.2 yards per carry, which is what the Niners have done, even with Deebo, but 3 points, instead of averaging at 3.3 yards per carry, they've had the last 3 weeks without Deebo. You put Trey Lance in the game, that could be 5 yards a carry as a team. What's more, Trey Lance can run. So you can get to 40 carries as opposed to just Elijah Mitchell running 20 to 25 times and then giving the rest of the carries to Jeff Wilson Jr., who's going to average nothing. Give him to Trey Lance, and he can average another 5 yards a carry, and you can control the game the way you want to control it. Seems to me that gives the Niners the best chance to win. The other thing about it is we've seen Trey Lance against the Seahawks. The first time these teams played, Jimmy Garoppolo played the first half, Lance played the second half. The offense functioned better with Lance in the game. They scored 6 points with Jimmy, 14 points with Lance in the same amount of time. Lance's quarterback rating in that half was 115, 117. It was clear that the Seahawks had a plan to shut down Jimmy and the Niners offense with him, and were completely unprepared to stop a Niners offense with Trey Lance. I feel like Trey Lance and the Trey Lance offense can beat a bad Seahawks team. I'm not sure that a Jimmy Garoppolo offense can beat a bad Seahawks team without Deebo because he couldn't do it earlier in the season with Deebo. I'm concerned the Niners are going to lose this game because they're not going to go to Trey Lance quickly enough. Now, maybe I'm not giving Jimmy Garoppolo enough credit here. 1-4 career against Seattle, already lost to him this year. No Deebo Samuel. They're not going to have a run game. He's in trouble. He's going to have a really good game passing with Tom Compton protecting him. I don't know, guys. Got a bad feeling about this. They need to get Trey Lance in ASAP. I'd start him, but I'm crazy. All right, let's take some calls. Boom. Is that convincing? My wife thought I was convincing. Thank you. As long as she's very smart. She's more discerning than me. We both went to UCLA. She was smart. Is smart.